The alarm screamed through the Galactic Academy training hall as Cadet Marcus Cole ducked behind a holographic barrier, his heart pounding against his ribs. 3 Vexian assassins had infiltrated the station, and the instructors were down. He was alone in the back row of the combat arena, the place where they put the human recruits nobody expected to survive the semester. The doors exploded inward. Marcus grabbed the nearest training weapon, a pulse staff that hummed with low-grade energy. It was meant for practice, not real combat. Against Vexian blades, it would last maybe 30 seconds. Then she walked through the smoke. Princess Kalira of the Fenari Empire moved like liquid fire, her fox-like ears pressed flat against her silver hair, her amber eyes scanning the chaos. She was the most important student at the academy, daughter of Emperor Voss himself, and she had never once looked in Marcus's direction during their 6 months of shared classes. Until now. Their eyes met across the burning room. Senior Instructor Vorn, bleeding from a wound on his shoulder, shouted from the ground. His voice cut through the noise of collapsing metal and crackling flames. He was trying to organize the surviving cadets, pointing toward the emergency protocols they had drilled 100 times. "Choose a partner," he commanded. Combat pairs. Defensive formation. The Fenari nobles paired with each other. The Keith warriors formed their traditional bonds. The silvery diplomats clustered together, their bioluminescent skin flickering with fear. Nobody moved toward Marcus. He tightened his grip on the staff and prepared to fight alone. Humans always fought alone out here. That was the unwritten rule of the galaxy. Earth was too young, too primitive, too irrelevant. Human cadets were admitted to the academy as a political gesture, nothing more. Nobody expected them to matter. Princess Kalira walked past 12 noble heirs from the most powerful families in 3 star systems. She ignored the son of the Keith War commander. She stepped around the daughter of the Silvery High Council. She moved through the crowd like they did not exist. She stopped in front of Marcus. "Partner," she said. Her voice was calm, as if assassins were not currently killing their way toward her location. Marcus stared at her. He waited for the joke, the trick, the moment when she would laugh and walk away. It did not come. A Vexian blade sang through the air toward her back. Marcus moved without thinking. He swept the pole staff upward and deflected the strike, the impact jarring through his arms. The assassin hissed in surprise. Humans were not supposed to be fast enough to block Vexian steel. Princess Kalira smiled, showing teeth that were sharper than any human's. Her hand closed around his wrist, pulling him toward the eastern corridor. "Good reflexes," she said. "Now run." They ran. The academy burned behind them, and Marcus Cole had no idea that he had just changed the fate of the entire galaxy. Part 2. The eastern corridor stretched before them like a metal throat, emergency lights painting everything in angry red. Marcus kept pace with Kalira, his lungs burning, his mind racing through every combat scenario the Academy had ever taught him. None of them covered this situation. "How many?" he asked, between breaths. 12, Kalira answered. She was not even winded. Her species had evolved as pursuit predators on a high-gravity world, built for endurance that would have shamed any Earth marathon runner. 8 in the main hall. 4 hunting me specifically. Hunting you? She glanced back at him, amber eyes reflecting the emergency lights. "I intercepted a transmission 3 days ago. The Vexian Dominion has placed a bounty on my head. 20 million credits, alive. They want leverage against my father." Marcus processed this information while simultaneously tracking the sounds behind them. Footsteps. Fast. Getting closer. The Vexians were not giving up. "Why me?" he asked. He gestured vaguely at the corridor they had fled through. "You had your pick of partners. Warriors, nobles, people who actually matter. Why choose the human from the back row?" Kalira grabbed his arm and pulled him through a maintenance hatch. The space beyond was cramped, filled with pipes and wiring that powered the Academy's life support systems. She pressed her hand over his mouth before he could ask another question. Silence. 2 Vexians passed the hatch. Their conversation was low, guttural, but Marcus had studied their language in his spare time. Most humans did not bother. Most humans assumed they would never need to understand their enemies. "The princess has a human with her," one said. "Irrelevant," the other replied. "Kill it if it interferes."
Focus on the target.
Their footsteps faded. Kalira removed her hand from his mouth. She was close enough that he could smell the strange floral scent of her fur, could see the individual strands of silver in her hair. "You asked why I chose you," she whispered. "Because I have been watching you for 6 months. Every training session, every combat drill, every examination. Do you know what I noticed?" Marcus shook his head. "Everyone else fights to win," she said. "You fight to survive. There is a difference. The nobles, they have never faced true danger. They have never known what it means to be alone against impossible odds. But humans know. Your species clawed its way out of extinction 7 times before you ever reached the stars. You adapt. You endure. You refuse to die. She touched the pulse staff he still carried. And you blocked a Vexian blade with a training weapon. Do you understand how impossible that should be? I got lucky. No. You got desperate. That is better than luck.
That is instinct.
A distant explosion shook the corridor. More alarms joined the chorus already screaming through the station. The Academy's defensive systems were failing. We need to reach the shuttle bay, Kalira said. I have a ship hidden in docking ring 7. If we can get there, we can escape and call for reinforcements. That is halfway across the station. Yes. Through however many Vexians are still alive. Yes. Marcus looked at the princess of the most powerful empire in the quadrant. She was asking him to help her survive. She was trusting a human, a species her people had dismissed as barely sapient only 50 years ago.
Why call for reinforcements?
He asked. Why not just run? Kalira's expression hardened. Because this is not just about me. The Vexians are here for a reason. They knew exactly when to strike, exactly where our defenses would be weakest. Someone inside the Academy betrayed us. If we run without exposing them, they will try again. More students will die. She met his eyes. I will not allow that. Marcus thought about the other human cadets. Jenny Park, who had the bunk next to his. Diego Santos, who shared his notes when Marcus fell behind in xenobiology. Lisa Monroe, who always saved him a seat in the mess hall. They were still back there, in the chaos, with the assassins. Okay, he said. We get to your ship. We call for help. But first, we find my people. Kalira studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. First, we find your people. They crawled through the maintenance tunnels, moving toward the residential wing where the human cadets were quartered. The station groaned around them, wounded and bleeding atmosphere from a dozen breaches. Marcus tried not to think about what would happen if the hull failed completely. They emerged in a storage room adjacent to the human quarters. Marcus pressed his ear to the door, listening. Voices. Human voices. Scared, but alive. He knocked 3 times, paused, knocked twice more. It was a signal he and Diego had invented during their first week at the Academy, a way to identify each other in the labyrinthine corridors. The door opened. Diego Santos stood there with a fire extinguisher raised like a club, his dark eyes wide with terror and relief. Behind him, Marcus could see Jenny and Lisa and 4 other human cadets huddled in a corner of the common room. Marcus, Diego breathed.
We thought you were dead.
Not yet, Marcus said. But we need to move. Now. He stepped into the room, and 7 pairs of eyes stared at Princess Kalira as she followed him through the door. Jenny's mouth fell open. Is that who I think it is? No time for introductions. Kalira's ears swiveled toward the corridor outside. They are coming. Part 3, Diego moved first. He grabbed the emergency kit from under his bunk and started distributing supplies. Flares, emergency oxygen masks, basic medical equipment. The human cadets had learned early to prepare for disaster. The Academy was not always kind to their species. How many hostiles? Lisa asked. She was already pulling on her boots, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. At least 12, Marcus said. Maybe more. Vexian assassins. They are after the princess. 7 humans looked at Kalira. 7 humans who had spent 6 months being ignored, dismissed, and underestimated by the other species at the Academy. Not one of them hesitated. Then we protect the princess, Jenny said. She picked up a maintenance tool from the corner. It was not a weapon, but it was heavy and sharp. Where are we going? Docking ring 7, Kalira answered. I have a ship there. Diego pulled up a schematic on his datapad. That is 3 sectors away. Main corridors are probably compromised. But the service tunnels run parallel to most of the route. If we stay quiet and move fast, we might make it. Might? Marcus asked. Diego shrugged. Better odds than staying here and waiting to die. They moved out in pairs, each human cadet watching a different angle. Marcus took point with Kalira beside him, her senses sharper than any human's. Behind them, Diego and Jenny covered the rear. Lisa moved in the middle, helping a younger cadet named Tommy who had twisted his ankle during the initial chaos. The service tunnels were dark, lit only by scattered emergency strips that cast more shadows than light. Every sound echoed. Every step felt like a thunderclap. They had made it 2 sectors when the Vexians found them. The first assassin dropped from an overhead vent, blade already swinging. Marcus shoved Kalira aside and caught the strike on his pulse staff. The weapon cracked but held. He kicked out, connecting with the Vexian's knee, buying himself a second to retreat. 2 more assassins emerged from the darkness ahead. Diego threw a flare directly into one's face. The Vexian screamed as the bright light overwhelmed its sensitive eyes. Jenny swung her maintenance tool, and the crack of impact echoed through the tunnel. "Move!" Marcus shouted. They ran. Behind them, the Vexians recovered and gave chase. The tunnel opened into a larger junction, a crossroads where 4 corridors met. Marcus skidded to a halt. 3 directions, 3 potential escape routes, 3 potential ambush points. Which way? He demanded. Kalira's ears twitched. Left. The others are waiting on the right. They went left. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them to move single file. Marcus could hear the Vexians behind them, closer now, their footsteps synchronized in the hunting pattern their species was famous for. The corridor ended at a sealed door. Diego ran to the access panel. It is locked. Emergency protocols. Can you override it? Maybe. I need time. We do not have time, Lisa said. She was looking back the way they had come. The Vexians appeared at the far end of the corridor, 3 of them, blades drawn, moving with predatory grace. They knew their prey was trapped. Marcus stepped forward, putting himself between the assassins and his friends. His pull staff was cracked and failing, its energy output dropping with every second. It would not last through another fight. Human, one of the Vexians said. It sounded almost amused.
Do you think you can stop us?
No, Marcus said. I think I can slow you down. He charged. The Vexians had not expected that. Their species valued survival above all else, and no rational being would attack 3 armed assassins with a broken training weapon. But humans were not always rational. Humans sometimes did insane things for the people they cared about. Marcus swung the staff in a wide arc, forcing the assassins to scatter. He ducked a blade that would have taken his head, rolled under a kick that would have broken his ribs, came up, swinging. The staff shattered against Vexian armor. Marcus grabbed the broken pieces and kept fighting. Jenny appeared beside him, her maintenance tool connecting with an assassin's wrist. Diego was there too, throwing everything he could find at the enemy. Lisa had picked up a piece of debris and was using it as a shield. They were not soldiers. They were not warriors. They were human cadets with improvised weapons and no training for real combat.
They were winning.
The door behind them hissed open. "Go!" Diego shouted. They poured through the opening, Tommy hobbling as fast as he could, the others covering the retreat. Marcus was the last one through. A Vexian blade caught his arm, slicing through fabric and flesh. He ignored the pain and dove through the door as it slammed shut. Diego sealed it from the other side. "That will hold them," he said. "Maybe 5 minutes." Marcus looked at his arm. Blood was soaking through his sleeve, dark and warm. Kalira was beside him in an instant, tearing a strip from her own clothing to bind the wound. "You are insane," she said. There was something in her voice that might have been admiration. "You chose me," Marcus reminded her. "This is what you get." She laughed. It was a strange sound in the middle of chaos and danger, but it made Marcus feel like maybe they had a chance after all. "One more sector," Kalira said. Her hands were gentle on his arm, tying the bandage tight. "My ship is waiting." "Then we keep moving," Marcus said. They kept moving. Part 4 Docking Ring 7 was a graveyard of abandoned ships and forgotten cargo containers. The Academy used it for storage, not active flights. That was why Kalira had hidden her vessel there. Nobody looked at Docking Ring 7. Until today. Marcus spotted the ambush before they walked into it.
"Wait," he said, holding up his fist.
The human cadets stopped immediately, training overriding their fear. Kalira's ears swiveled, searching for what he had sensed. "What is it?" she whispered. 3 containers, center of the bay. The dust patterns are wrong. Someone moved them recently. Diego pulled up his datapad, running a thermal scan. He is right. I am reading 4 heat signatures behind that position. 5 more near the ship itself. 9 Vexians between them and escape. Marcus looked at his team. 7 humans, 1 princess, a collection of improvised weapons, and exactly 0 tactical advantages. The odds were not good. Jenny stepped forward. "We could create a distraction. Draw some of them away while the rest of you make a run for the ship." "No," Kalira said. Her voice was firm. "I will not sacrifice any of you for my sake." "It is not sacrifice if we volunteer," Diego pointed out. Kalira shook her head. "You do not understand. The bounty is for me, alive. As long as I am free, they have to keep most of their forces focused on capture. If we split up, they can afford to kill." Marcus studied the bay. The princess was right. The Vexians wanted her breathing. That was their only advantage. Then we give them what they want, he said slowly. Everyone turned to look at him. They want the princess, so we give them a princess. He looked at Lisa. She was roughly Kalira's height, with the same slender build. In the dim emergency lighting, with the right clothing and some creative misdirection, she might pass for Fenari from a distance. Lisa understood immediately. You want me to be bait? I want you to be convincing, just long enough for us to get to the ship. Once we are inside, we can use the weapon systems to cover your escape. That is a terrible plan, Diego said. You have a better one? Silence. Lisa squared her shoulders. Tell me what to do. They worked quickly. Kalira gave Lisa her outer robe, the distinctive silver garment that marked her as Fenari royalty. Diego fashioned a pair of fake ears from emergency insulation, good enough to fool someone who was not looking closely. Jenny coached Lisa on Kalira's walk, the precise predatory grace that was almost impossible for humans to imitate. Almost. Lisa had been a dancer before she came to the academy. She watched Kalira move twice, then replicated the motion with eerie accuracy. That is unsettling, Kalira admitted.
Thank you, Lisa said. They split into 2 groups.
Lisa, Jenny, and Tommy would approach from the western entrance, visible and vulnerable. Marcus, Kalira, Diego, and the remaining cadets would use the maintenance hatches to circle around to the ship. Marcus caught Lisa's arm before she left. Be careful, he said. She smiled. You too. The distraction worked better than expected. Lisa walked into the docking bay like she owned it, head high, shoulders back, every inch a princess. The Vexians behind the cargo containers shifted, their attention drawn to the western entrance. Go, Diego whispered. They moved through the shadows, staying low, staying quiet. The ship was 50 meters away. Then 40, then 30. 20 meters from the ship, a Vexian stepped out of the darkness directly in front of them. Marcus did not hesitate. He threw himself at the assassin, tackling the larger being to the ground before it could raise an alarm. They rolled across the deck, grappling for position. The Vexian was stronger, faster, better trained. Marcus was desperate. Desperation won. He slammed his elbow into the Vexian's throat, cutting off its breath. Before it could recover, Diego was there, driving a piece of metal debris into the assassin's shoulder. The Vexian went limp. Marcus was on his feet immediately, pulling Kalira toward the ship. The ramp was lowering, the engines already warming up. Someone had activated the remote start. Inside, he ordered. They piled into the ship. Marcus was last, pausing at the top of the ramp to look back across the bay. Lisa was running. The Vexians had realized the deception and were pursuing, but she was fast, weaving between containers, buying them precious seconds. The ship's weapons came online. Diego was at the controls, targeting the Vexians with precision that surprised everyone who knew him as the quiet kid who helped with homework. Energy bolts screamed across the bay, scattering the assassins, creating a path for Lisa and the others. They reached the ramp just as the ship started to lift off. Marcus grabbed Lisa's hand and pulled her aboard. Jenny and Tommy tumbled in behind her. Diego, go! Marcus shouted. The ship shot forward, blasting through the docking bay doors and into open space. Behind them, the academy grew smaller, flames still visible through its hull breaches. Marcus collapsed against the wall, breathing hard, bleeding from a dozen minor wounds. Kalira sat beside him, her shoulder pressed against his. You did it, she said quietly. We did it, he corrected. She looked at him, amber eyes soft in the ship's interior lighting. You know this is not over. The Vexians will not stop hunting me. And now they know about you, about all of you. Marcus thought about what that meant. A life of running, of fighting, of being hunted by the most ruthless assassins in the galaxy. He thought about going back to being the ignored human in the back row. Then I guess we better get used to each other, he said. Kalira smiled. That was the second time he had made her smile today. The ship accelerated toward the stars, leaving the burning academy behind. Part 5. The distress signal reached the Fenari Imperial fleet 6 hours later. By then, Marcus and his team had treated their wounds, eaten their first meal since the attack, and argued extensively about what to do next. We should go to Earth, Diego suggested. Human space is neutral territory. The Vexians cannot touch us there. The Vexians do not care about treaties, Kalira said. She was standing at the viewport, watching the stars streak past. If we go to Earth, we bring danger to your entire planet.
Then we go to Fenari Prime,
Jenny offered. You are the princess. Your father's fleet can protect us. My father's fleet is why the Vexians attacked, Kalira replied. There is a traitor in my father's court. Someone who knew my schedule, my location, the Academy's defensive weaknesses. Until we know who it is, I cannot go home. Marcus had been quiet, thinking. He looked at Kalira now, seeing the weight she carried behind those amber eyes. She was not just worried about herself. She was worried about an entire empire. The transmission, he said? The one you intercepted 3 days ago. Did it say anything else? Kalira hesitated. It mentioned a meeting. Vexian High Command is gathering at a station in the neutral zone. They are planning something larger than an assassination, something that could start a war. A war between the Vexian Dominion and the Fenari Empire would kill billions. The Academy had taught them that much. Both sides had weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Both sides had leaders willing to use them. Then that is where we go, Marcus said. Everyone stared at him. You want to fly into the heart of Vexian territory? Lisa asked. With 8 people in one ship? I want to find out what they are planning. I want to find evidence of the traitor in the Fenari court, and I want to stop a war before it starts. That is suicide, Diego said. That is survival, Marcus corrected. He stood, facing his team. The Vexians already want us dead. If this war happens, Earth will be caught in the middle. Humanity is too young, too weak, too unimportant to matter in a galactic conflict. Both sides will use our planets as battlegrounds and never think twice about it. He looked at each of them in turn. We are not just fighting for the princess. We are fighting for everyone we have ever loved. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then Jenny stepped forward. I am in. Diego nodded. Me too. Lisa, Tommy, and the others joined them, one by one, until they were all standing together. Kalira turned from the viewport. Her eyes were bright, and not just from the starlight. You are all insane. We are human, Marcus said. Same thing. She laughed, and this time the others joined her. It was not a happy sound, not exactly. It was the sound of people who knew they were about to do something impossible and had decided to try anyway. The ship changed course, angling toward the neutral zone. They reached the Vexian station 3 days later. Marcus had expected something impressive, a fortress bristling with weapons, an armada of warships, the full might of the Dominion on display. Instead, he found a single ship docked at a forgotten relay station. That is not Vexian, Diego said, staring at the sensor readings. The configuration is all wrong. Kalira leaned forward, her ears pressed flat. It is Fenari. That is my aunt's personal vessel. Your aunt? High Lady Sivra. She is my father's chief advisor. The pieces clicked together in Marcus's mind. The traitor. The one who had known everything about the Academy, about Kalira's schedule, about the defensive weaknesses. We need to get closer, he said. We need proof. They docked silently, using maintenance protocols that Diego had learned from a lifetime of making do with broken equipment. The station was old, barely functional, perfect for a secret meeting. Marcus led the way through the corridors, Kalira at his side. The others spread out behind them, covering angles, watching for threats. They moved like a unit now, 8 people who had learned to trust each other with their lives. The meeting room door was not locked. Inside, a holographic display showed battle plans, troop movements, a detailed strategy for invading Fenari Prime itself. High Lady Sivra stood at the center of the room, negotiating with a Vexian commander. With my intelligence and your forces, she was saying, we can take the throne within a month. My brother is weak. He does not deserve to rule. And the princess? The commander asked. Dead, Sivra said, along with everyone who saw her die. The words hit Kalira like a physical blow. Her aunt. Her family. Planning her murder like it was just another political maneuver. Marcus touched her arm, grounding her. Then he stepped into the room. I think you might want to revise that plan, he said. Sivra spun around. Her face went pale as she saw her niece standing beside the human, alive and armed and very, very angry. The Vexian commander reached for his weapon. Marcus was faster. He threw himself at the commander, disrupting the draw, buying Kalira time to move. The human cadets poured into the room, overwhelming Sivra's guards before they could react. It was over in seconds. Sivra stood alone, surrounded by enemies, her plans in ruins. You cannot prove anything, she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. Kalira smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. The station's recording systems are still active, Aunt. We have everything. She gestured, and Diego pulled up the footage on the holographic display. Every word of the conversation preserved in perfect clarity. High Lady Sivra of the Fenari Empire collapsed into a chair, defeated. The war that would have killed billions never happened. The traitor was exposed, imprisoned, and stripped of her titles. The Vexian Dominion, embarrassed by the failed plot, withdrew its assassins and opened negotiations for a lasting peace. And Marcus Cole, the human from the back row, became something he had never expected to be, a hero. The ceremony was held on Fenari Prime, in the great hall of Emperor Voss himself. Marcus and his team stood before the assembled nobility, receiving honors that no humans had ever been granted before. But the greatest reward was not the medals or the titles or the recognition. It was the moment when Kalira took his hand, in front of her father and the entire court, and spoke 3 words that changed everything. "My partner," she said. "Forever." Marcus squeezed her hand and smiled. The instructor had ordered them to choose partners. The Fox Princess had chosen the last row, and the galaxy would never be the same.